Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Amber and today I'm going to share with you my weekly wrap up. First up, I apologize for my dogs. We're babysitting like 1, 2, 3 dogs. So probably some extra noise going on here, and I am going to apologize and try not to get after them about it. So here we go, because I do not want to have to edit this. Secondly, I wanted to announce the fact that I'm going to be starting doing a weekly vlogs. I'm not going to stop doing weekly wrap-ups because I don't want to be reviewing things in there. The only things I'll talk about is if I see enough of a book in the vlog. But I want my weekly wrap-ups to be just about what I finished reading and watching wise. So that's what's going to be happening next week. That's what you'll be seeing from me in that way. And hopefully it works out because I am announcing this, so I really want it to turn out for me. But I've just been really getting into the mood for that, and hopefully it works out as I've already said. So let's just jump in. I'm gonna talk about a book and a film because they go together, and then we'll just go on to the rest of the films I watched. So I started to reread the Harry Potter books again, and I just was so I just went head over heels in love with In Order to Live that it really affected my reading. So I just needed to get back into something that I knew that I loved and was just easy to immerse myself in, to help me to get back into the reading process. The first few days in this week, I just was really struggling hard to get into anything, and so it just happened. I do think that since it wasn't that long ago since I've started reading, since I was reading them before, I would just start from where I left off, but no, I'm not that kind of person. I have to start from the beginning, and I am determined to finish it this time because I just have done this too many times where I would get to the halfway mark in the books, and then I would put them to the side and then start over again in the process. So I just need to finish it this time. But I don't feel guilty about it. It's something that's easy for me to get into. I love them so much, and it's whatever thing. They're just, yeah. So I also watched the first 2 films. I actually only watched half of Chamber of Secrets, but I don't really care that much about the first 2 films. I watched them out of being completist and having to start from the beginning, and also out of loyalty to the books, because Chamber of Secrets, the film, actually got me to read the books. If it hadn't been for that one, I don't know how much longer it would have taken me to actually read them, because I knew that they were a thing, but I just hadn't really ever gotten into them before. So I have Chamber of Secrets to be thankful for in that, but I don't really think they're that great of film in films wise. I love the books, but I just don't really love the films. I think they're like I said, on the boring side. The acting from the main leads are not that great, which I've had to come to terms with. But when you get to the 3rd film, the acting gets a lot better. It seems like they did a lot of practicing and learning in between the 2nd and the 3rd one, because they seem to have developed more in their skills. And I love the filming style from the 3rd onwards. And I get that the first 2 films are more closer to the actual story in the books, and I understand all that, but I can't help but loving the rest of the films better than those 2. I just love the filming style. I loved how they handled the story more than the first 2, if that makes any sense. I think that they interpreted the books, the themes and the feel, and they kept to the framework of the book, the story. I get that there's a lot of major things that they leave out that I understand affects things. There's a lot of plot holes in the films because they leave certain things out. But at the same time, since I've read the books, I can fill those blanks in, so I don't really care all that much. I can't help but love the films. And I'm sorry, but not sorry. So the first two films are not something that I fully care to like always finish, but I will at least try to watch them before I go and move on to the third one. So those are the things. Those are the first two things that I've watched in that series, but I didn't start that week out watching them. The first one I did watch in this week is Black Panther. This is in the Marvel world. If you've been around for a while, you probably know what this is about. So I'm not going to really talk about it, what this is about or anything. I'm just going to go into it. I did watch this in the theaters, so this is my first time watching it since watching it in the theaters. Yeah. But in watching it in the theaters and watching it now, I'm dealing with the same thing where I really enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I don't know how to explain that because everything hits the mark for me. Great filming, great special effects, great story, great acting. There's everything is there for me to love it. It didn't have the wow factor for me, and I can't explain it all that much. The other thing, and this is not a major thing, it's a very small thing, and it might become a major thing if it doesn't play a part in the next film, is that they wrapped everything up, but they left one thing open, and I'm just in the moment that we're not really sure if we're going to be getting a second one because they haven't officially announced it yet. I'm just the least they could have done was wrap that up so I knew what happened, because I really enjoyed this one character. Not him particularly, but her especially, and I really wanted to know what is going to happen with him and with her. So I'm just I'm hoping that they did that on purpose to answer it in the next film. But if it doesn't get answered, I'm going to be pretty annoyed by that, and it will affect the rating of it. Because I did give it 5 stars because I do think this is really great, and I love T'Chaka's sister. She is the best part of this film. She just makes me laugh and smile so much. But yeah, she gets all the stars for me. The film overall gets more a 4-star rating for me. Then I watched Coco, and this is an animated film about a boy who loves music so much, but his family doesn't, and he is determined to enter in this music competition, but his family is trying to stop him, and so he ends up stealing his favorite musician's guitar, and when he does so, it transports him into the city of Dead, and it's about his adventures there. Overall, I enjoyed this film. It was on the boring side for me. I found my attention drifting at times, and I kind of find it funny that this film centers on music, yet I feel like it lacked in music. There just wasn't enough music for me. I wanted music. I wanted to play a huger role, especially when we got into the City of Dead. I understood it when we were in the living world, but once we got into the world of the dead, I thought that there would be more music because he was more free to play music, and it would be all over the place, and I wanted the music, the hints that we got of the music, it was really beautiful and I was enjoying it, but there just wasn't enough. So that really affected my enjoyment because I really wanted that. I went into this film hoping for it, and I didn't get it. But I thought that the story was really strong. And the voices were great, and the animation was beautiful. I just wanted a little bit more. But it does get 4 stars. Then I watched Jackie, the stars Natalie Portman, and this is Jackie's perspective on the assassination and the days after, dealing with the process of the funeral, etc. And overall, I think what I really loved about this film was Natalie Portman herself. And I get what one reviewer said about how when you see Natalie Portman on screen, it's always going to be Natalie Portman. Her features are so distinctive that no matter how much they do to disguise that, you're always going to know that it's her. But the fact is, nobody's going to really be able to physically look near to Jackie Kennedy, and they did the best they could with that. I am not going to criticize or anything. It's a very neutral thing for me, but it actually was, I thought she did such an amazing job and showing the grief process and what she possibly could have been going through emotionally, and dealing with the process of the funeral and trying to balance out her wanting to create this legacy of JFK, and then dealing with trying to keep her children safe in the process, and et cetera, et cetera. And I really enjoyed seeing that be played. I know it's kind of weird to say that considering what the subject is, but it's just, they did such a great job in that way. But this film, the music was so crappy. It didn't fit with the story, the scenes, at all. And then it would be like this weird crescendo thing where it hurt my ears to listen to because it wasn't a good sound. But also, it always made me expect something scary and over dramatic, and nothing really was happening. No scenes that crescendo thing was happening. And I don't get the point of those crescendo things. That really just annoyed the hell out of me. So it jarred me out of my watch of this, and I just couldn't enjoy the film overall because of the music. The music that they put in films are so important because it can really affect people's viewing enjoyment. And, the music sets the tone. It helps with the baseline of what this film is going to be. It's like with Jaws, like once you heard that music, you knew, and even though you knew, you got scared. It's like, but it set the tone, it sets expectations, and so music is so important. Whether you decide to not have music or to have music, it's so very important in how you choose to use music. And so they did a really shoddy job with that. I don't understand what they were trying to do with it. It just didn't work. So I did give it 4 stars originally, but I think it's more like a 2.5 to 3 stars. I gave it 4 stars for Natalie Portman, really. The last film that I have to talk about is Jenny's Wedding, and this stars Katherine Heigl, who plays Jenny, and Alexis Bledel. And this is about Jenny, who has proposed to her girlfriend, and she hasn't come out to her family yet, so it's about, the whole film is really just about her coming out and dealing with the after effect of that, and how her family responds to her coming out to them. So I really wanted to see like the romance and to see them like fall in love. I wanted a little bit more development in that. We don't get it, and I understand like that's not the main point of this film, but I did want a little bit of that. Like I just wanted some of it, and I don't think that Catherine and Alexis really had that much chemistry. It kind of seemed weird to see them together, because again, I just didn't think they had that much chemistry together. But I did enjoy watching this film overall because we got to see someone coming out to the family and how that can sometimes affect family. Because everybody has different reactions, and I mean, she's been lying to them her whole life about who she, part of who she was. It's just, but and the reaction they had, I don't really care for the mother's reaction. I did find her very wrong. And you're supposed to love your daughter, your child, no matter what. And it's just like, it's just who she is. Like, it doesn't really change her. It's just another part of her that she was too scared to show you. And how can you blame her for not telling you when this is your reaction? I'm just like, I don't know. But anyways, so I really enjoyed, I found it very interesting to see the process as I tried finding films that deal with, art that is mainly about, I wanted to find films that deal with the subject before, and it's either that they deal with the sex side so much that it comes off like a very much an erotica film, and I don't really care for that. Why can't they just normalize it where it's just them falling in love? Why can't we have a romantic comedy cheesy film that isn't male female, female male? Give me female female. Like, I want more. I want it to normalize to that point where it can be a romantic cheesy film and just be normal. Like, I want that. I wanted to watch a romantic cheesy film, and that's why I chose Jenny's Wedding, and I of course didn't get that, but I'm tired of, like, it's either this or it goes on the far other side where it's just about them having sex with each other. And I'm just like, I get that's part of the process, like, I get that's part of the relationship, but why does it have to be all that it is? So I want something that, that I can love. And sadly, I haven't been able to find things. So if you have recommendations for a romantic, cheesy, gay film, I want that. That's all the films I've watched. I did give Journey's Wedding 4 stars because I can't say for sure, as I don't have that experience, and I wouldn't know if this was an accurate representation of somebody coming out. But I did enjoy it. So, moving on to the books. So, last week I talked about how I was most likely going to be DNF to Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. I didn't really want to, but I did actually do so because I was already having issues with it before. But then when I read In Order to Live, it just kind of turned me off of this because I just couldn't deal with this. I don't want to say it made me feel like it was a frivolous book, but it kind of did make me feel that way. Like, I don't want to belittle her experiences because she's going through depression and through a crappy divorce, and I get that those experiences are really big things for somebody who has to live through it, and I'm not saying that her experiences are any less valid. I'm just saying that it was really bad timing for me to be reading these two books because they're like two different things, and it really affected my reading experience of this. But again, I was dealing with some issues with it before fully getting into In Order to Live. And the issue that I really had was the fact that Elizabeth Gilbert is a white privileged woman, and she doesn't recognize that. Like, she kind of brushes over the fact that she had a career to fall back on. In the moment that you're going through it, I get it. Like, you're not going to be able to see clearly, especially if you're going through depression alongside all of it. And so, even though she had a career and she was, she would be able to build up her finances more easier than most people could, and all that, I get that in that moment that she wouldn't see that. But as she's writing this, seeing it at a distance, it would have been nice for her to recognize that privilege. You don't have to feel guilty for it, but you do need to recognize it because it does kind of make her feel like it does kind of make me feel that she's being dishonest with me, the reader, in that moment, because it's just recognize it. It's not the fact that you're a white privileged woman. You had it easier than most in being able to bounce back. And she also brushes over the fact that as a established author, she was able to get the money in order to travel when she pitched the whole idea of this book to her publishers, even before she actually went through the traveling and that's how she got the money to do it. She makes it out like it was some kind of fake thing, and she does talk about a little bit, again, it's like a flyby moment where she talks about the fact that she's an established author who had the trust of her publishers enough to give her this money. It's like, it was them trusting you. It's not some silly idea of fate. It was you putting in the work and writing your books and getting the trust of your publisher. That's it. It's like, take credit for it and take responsibility for it. Like, recognize it. You have a privilege. You have the ability to go on this trip because you were an established author who had the trust of your publishers. It was not some silly idea of fate. And that is like, why can't you just be honest and open about that? Like, it, it, it did definitely rub me the wrong way, and I was kind of being frustrated with her. But I was really determined to finish this before I, like I said, before I got into in order to live fully. So I'm gonna keep it for now and try it maybe later on in the year and see if I can actually finish it. I just want to finish at least once more before I give it away, if I do give it away. So we'll just wait and see what happens there. But other than that, I just haven't been able to like get into many books this week. Other than Sorcerer Stone, I am reading a book from my own shelves. It's another reread. But I had like so many other books from the library, and I just kept DNFing them. I mean, only just because I was going through a bit of a slump. There is one book that I really tried to read, and it had its own issues, and that is why I DNF'd it, not because of the slump. And that is The Condition by Jennifer Hay. This is about a family who is at their beach house, and the father sees his youngest cousin, her younger cousin, and notices something off about it, and she ends up being diagnosed with Turner syndrome, which is a genetic condition that has prevented her from maturing, prepping her forever in the body of a child. And 20 years later, we see how each of the 5 family members are dealing with the diagnosis and how it's affecting them even then. Now, the synopsis did bother me a little bit because it's like it does seem kind of selfish that you would take on the syndrome as something that affects you personally. I mean, she's the one that has to live with it day in and day out, and so that really bothered me right off the bat. But I thought at least like when we get into this book, we would be dealing with the syndrome through the perspective of Gwen, and actually it being talked about more throughout the book. But the prelude, you want to call it a prelude, ends off with Frank telling his wife that he thinks there's something wrong with Gwen, and we jump 20 years later after that. And I wanted to get more of the diagnosis process and how it affected them right then and there, and then jump. We didn't get that at all. So there's that. Then the very first section of the first chapter, we're introduced to Frank, and it's just him talking about sex. It's all sex, and then him talking about how he hired this woman because the university's policies about diversity is changing, and that they noticed that he isn't hiring many women and rather no women at all, and so he ends up hiring this one woman, and it ends up that he was just hiring her because he wanted to have sex with her, and it's just all sex, which is a huge turn off for me. It's just he's a sex jerk. I'm just like, what the hell? If I went to look up reviews on this book to see if anybody else like thought that, like, I don't know if you're like me, like if you're like confused by it, like sometimes I was really kind of like upset with that, and I wanted to know if anybody else like saw the issue, and nobody that as far as I looked had an issue with that first part. I'm just like, how do you miss the sexism in that, and the fact that he's so sex craved? I'm just like, I get that people crave sex, like it's not just a man thing though, and I kind of found that a little bit bothersome that was the first thing that she like when we get into the main book. That's the first thing that she introduced us was a sex craved sexist jerk. I'm like, that's a great introduction. Not. And so nobody like mentioned that, but what they did mention when I was looking at the negative reviews is that we don't get Gwen's perspective till like the very end of the book, and that if you took out if the title was different, if they didn't like make a big deal of the synopsis that this was supposed to center around the Turner syndrome, this would just be a typical family drama narrative. And I did look to see if that was true, and it is true. But she doesn't like show up until like the very end. Like like maybe this far into the book. So I'm just like, that was pretty pointless. You don't even give her like that much of a voice. You don't represent the one person that actually is living through this syndrome. That just bothers me because her voice is the most important voice, I would say. She's the one that has to live through it. She's the one that has to deal with it day in and day out. And how people look at her and react to her. And what is her experience? We don't really get that. Especially as she only gets like a very short amount of time. How are we supposed to get that? So I'm just really frustrated with. I'm still dealing with the frustration of it because I'm just like, I was really looking forward to reading a book that dealt with this, and it doesn't really deal with it. I'm just like, the child needs to be changed, the Tinder syndrome needs to be changed, and I wouldn't even have picked it up if it hadn't been the fact that it deals with something that I had read about before, and I was very interested in that, and we don't even get it. So a huge DNF for me. So that is it. I DNF'd 2 books. I just couldn't get into anything. I'm currently reading 2 books that are rereads. So I'm going to just not borrow books from the library until I finish the Harry Potter series because I'm determined to do that. And yeah, I'm just trying to get back into the reading zone here. But hopefully next week will be better. Reading wise. And hopefully next week I will have a reading vlog up for you guys, and that will be also enjoyable for you guys. So I would love to hear what you thought of The Condition or Eat, Pray, and Love. I'd love to talk with you down below about them. I'd also love to hear what you've been reading. And until next time, thank you all so much for watching.